dance for joy or lust or anger, and every time you haven't got it right.
Welcome to Sensible Secondhand Classics, the series where we look at practical, sensible cars that are over 15 years old that you can buy for a budget of between £1,000 and £5,000. This is a 1984 BMW 320i of the E30 shape, which is owned by Mr. Charles from the Ground Thrift Auto channel. But is it any good? Should you care? Let's find out, shall we? So the E30 generation of BMW 3 Series, which is the second generation, was launched in late 1982. We started to get them over here in 1983. This is quite an early one. It is a 1984 and it has the M20 engine, which develops 125 PS. Now there were lots of other engines available in these, starting with the 316 on a carb, which only developed about 90 PS originally. Later on that was changed to fuel injection of the 316i, and that developed around 100 PS. The more exciting versions, the early 318s were 105 PS, and that was later increased to 113 PS. The 318IS had I think 136 PS. Then the 320i's, until 1985 they produced 125 PS, and that was later increased to 129 PS. In this country then we got the 323i. That was a 6-cylinder engine, actually a bit like this one. The anything above the 320 was a 6-cylinder. First of all, we generate 139 PS, and then I think after 84, 150 PS for the last model year. When that was replaced in 1985 with a mild facelift, the 325i had 170 PS. I'm actually on private land at the moment, so I keep looking down at my information, but because I'm on private land, I'm not really breaking any rules by what I'm doing. More exciting stuff came in the sort of guise of the M3 model, which were all left-hand drive. First of all, generating 195 PS, then 220 PS, and then for the Sport Evos right at the end, developing 238 PS. In this country there were no engines with forbidden fuel, so we could talk about all of them, which is good. We didn't get things like the 325e over here. So here we are at a very, very quiet Swansea airport. It's ideal for actually looking at old cars, as we've been doing as well with that lovely FE Victor. Very, very rare to see an E30 of this sort of age. It is a very, very early one. It's 1984. Before, actually, they had the change in 1985 when the 325 was introduced. Before that, it was a 323. So just a basic two-door, standard wheels, I think, on this 320i. In this amazing colour. It looks more sort of 70s, this colour, to me, than 80s. But obviously in the early 80s, a lot of cars were like this, with sort of gold on the outside and brown on the inside. Not the kind of concourse car or anything. We've seen a lot of concourse E30s recently, but this is a sort of amazing survivor car. Unfortunately, somebody decided to vandalise this window recently, which is why it's not there. But you know, that won't be too much a bother because we were driving quite slowly in this today, so that should be fine. Classic kind of 1980s BMW interior. In fact, when I think of an 80s BMW, the only thing I think of is an E30. I think most of you probably like that in these. Quite low spec actually. I mean, on the 316 you wouldn't, I don't know what you got, but probably not electric mirrors like this. We've not got electric windows, we've not got air conditioning. We've got a nice sunroof though. And actually we've got a little inspection economy meter things at the bottom, which were probably quite advanced for the day. As you can see, sort of there, the little lights in there for the oil service, and there's the econometer just there. Amazingly, this car's only done 67,000 miles. Look at this sort of 1980s stereo in here as well. This is brilliant, isn't it? 5-speed manual in this, you get an automatic as well. I'm just going to put the handbrake on there. Typical kind of older BMW where the driver has the dashboard pointing towards them like this, as opposed to the old Morris Marina where it pointed away in the centre, which is silly really. Quite comfortable seats in here, very typical fabric of the time. I'm going to leave this sunroof alone, by the way. One thing I have noticed in this car, it's the same as in one of the early kind of Mark III Escorts, is that we've got this sort of warning panel here for all sorts of things like brake lights, engine oil, dip beam, rear lights, all this sort of thing up here. And I will have a go at turning that on and just take a look. Indicator and wiper stalks a little bit weird in that they're actually sort of, I don't know, a little spindle thing here. Feel alright though, considering this car is 40 years old. It feels fine. Lights are on a little button there. Some of these even had carbs. This is an injection one, but a lot of these would have had carbs, like with the original 316. And this sort of very typical BMW heating and ventilation system that I remember from my mother's E34 actually. She had one of those for years. So yeah, no airbag or anything like that. I think some of the very late E30s got airbags, but there's nothing in this one. I'm just amazed at the sort of colour and everything in here. It's just so typical of this sort of time. Obviously later on fashions sort of changed, but you just don't see many E30s like this. Right, I'll have to get in the back now, won't I, which I don't think I'm going to particularly enjoy. Now, some of these cars were built in South Africa, and when I was in South Africa a few years ago, I actually did go in one of these in the back about 2011. I think it was a pre-facelift. It's a 4-door, this is a 2-door. I don't remember there being a lot of space in there, so let's try this one. Mr. Manning from the Matty's Cars channel is going to be very happy that I make such noises. Oh my gosh, that's not good at all, is it? That's not good. This seat is set for Mr. Charles, who owns this, and you know, he's about the same height I am, so it's not good, viewers. Also, we don't have any rear head restraints. You didn't even need rear seat belts at the time this car was registered actually in Britain. Just see, look, we've got a trim panel here that was made in September 1983. Right, that's in place now. I mean, I could sort of try to sit like that, but no, don't like that. No centre armrest in this car. Headroom's all right, actually. That's not the problem. The problem is, yeah, the legroom. It's just not great, really. I mean, it's all right for a short distance, I suppose, but if you wanted a sort of family car in the 1980s and you wanted a BMW, perhaps you would buy the 5 Series instead. Right. Have we got any ashtrays in the back of here? No, we didn't even have any of those. Oh, no, it's here. Sorry, you could share one. The 40-year-old plastic. I better leave that alone. Okay, let's have a look in the boot, shall we? So we got the M20 engine. It's a 2-litre, developing about 125 PS in this particular car because it's an early 320i. As you can see, proper old sharp-nosed BMW, so bonnet opens towards the front. Mr. Charles is very kindly holding it for me because we're a bit concerned about the state of our gas strut. So today this car actually passes MOT, so that's all good. Weird sort of coolant reservoir thing on there, although it looks pretty straightforward to work on. Some of the engines in the E30 do have cam belts, some of them are chain. And we've got here, look, Bahama Beige Metallic it says there. So that's the name of the colour, I just called it gold. Yeah, it's an era of kind of BMW when they just were not like they are now. They weren't trying to appeal to everyone and be one of the top selling makes in this country, which they are currently. They were really quite exclusive, you know, quite expensive cars and really sort of well engineered. And You can see sort of here, it's all sort of precise and everything's where it should be, even in this sort of very well loved example. Right, I'll better take a look in the boot, I suppose.
And the dealer sticker is original.
So Mr. Charles and I were just sort of discussing here, sort of about this sticker up here, and apparently this one here is original how the car would have come out of the factory in 1984. And then we've got the original supplying dealer here up in Ruislip. And we opened up this boot, original dealer plates at E&O of Ruislip. It's actually pretty good in here. The one thing I don't understand about this, and this is the same with a lot of cars, the Ford Cortinas are similar to this as well, actually, even the Mark 5s have a really high boot lip. It's the fact that they facelifted this car twice, and at no point did they change this. You just, this is what you got. If you wanted a larger luggage space, you bought a Touring, which you only had a little cutout sort of here, where a number plate is. So none of them were like that practical, but then again, this is what cars were like in the 1980s. It's just the way that they were. It's quite a deep odd, but then we've got the original toolkit in here, which you know, could probably do with sort of a little acid bath or something.
Yeah, it's a bit cleaner.
But it's all right. Yeah, so actually the boot is much bigger than I would imagine for a car like this, because they're not big cars, these E30s. They're quite small by modern standards. But as long as you can cope with actually loading, if you've got soft bags in particular, you can put them a really long way forward, and that's absolutely fine. No folding rear seats, unfortunately. Only a boot light works as well. Superb. Right. Yeah, I mean, as I said, we've had a new MOT on this car just today. I mean, all the sort of bits of things you see are just cosmetic. There's no structural rust to this car. The underneath's really good. It's one of the main areas that they have problems with is rust underneath, and this doesn't really have that. It just needs a bit of a clean, and these bits will need attention at some point. But overall, it's pretty good. And in fact, it's so good, I'm going to have another little spin just down there. You can actually get quite a few different body styles for these. At launch, the two-door saloon, later known as a coupe. She went a coupe originally, actually, because there's not an awful lot of room in these, in the back in particular. And then the four-door saloon. First of all, the Bauer convertible, which is more like a Targa roofed car in a way, and then the full factory convertible, which was introduced along with the Touring with the major facelift in 1987. To drive, well, I resisted the temptation in this because I managed to keep driving up and down the same road on this private piece of land to actually floor it and see the back end go out, because I know if I do that will happen. And Mr. Charles, who I came in convoy with today, I was driving his one of the other cars. I saw him kind of have a cheeky flick in the gravel car park, which was good. Yeah, it's really nice responsive steering, good driving position, this nice 2 litre 6-cylinder engine in this car. It's a shame about this driver's window, which unfortunately was vandalised a while ago. There's a few reasons why I'm not driving this on a public road today. But if we go round a little bit faster, we sort of see what happened. If we just sort of a bit of, oh no, not quite. Not quite. We didn't quite let it back in out of their views, but then there's not the sort of channel that we do that in. I don't think I've ever driven one of these before. I've driven later 3-series, like an E46. I've driven 3 of those, but not one of these. E21 I've not driven. I'd like to try one of those as well. But as I've said elsewhere in this video, I just can't believe that BMW is such a different company now, and you know, they try to make cars for just every single niche, trying to be one of the volume sellers in this country, which they are. They're like number 3, I think, at the moment in terms of the cars that they sell. Whereas this was just designed engineering first, regardless of, you know, making it a mass market car. It wasn't necessarily designed for that. Although there were, you know, very basic versions sold in Germany in particular. Go around like this. Oh. Yeah, we got a bit of slippage there, viewers. Don't drive like that. Yeah, so you know they're an engineering-led company with this driver-focused dash and the rear-wheel drive and these lusty six-cylinder engines. Obviously, the four-cylinder ones aren't as beloved as these six cylinders, but I've quite enjoyed this actually. I know Mr. Charles does, and both been a bit sort of cheeky on the sort of bit of private land today. Yeah, I think I'd better have a sit down and sort of calm down a little bit from my exuberant driving on this empty gravel car park. So I've looked up some information about the E30 3 Series on the Honest John Classic website, which is quite good. There's good information on here. Yeah, so none of these cars had cats, apart from the really late ones. I think the last ones of these that were sold were in 1994, which were the Tourings, which lasted longer before the E36 Touring was ready. From 1988 model year, which should be late 87, some of them are galvanised. Now some of them have cam belts, some of them are chain cam. Chain cam I think definitely is the one that powers the 318IS. Yeah, the problem was with these, there's a sort of few things to watch for. Oversteer, yeah, I think we've experienced oversteer in this as well as Mr. Charles has today. The two doors are quite cramped, yeah. A lot of them do have the time belts. The M3 doesn't, the 318IS doesn't, but a lot of them do. This one definitely doesn't. Overview is typical, right? Yeah, so a lot of them do have cam belts. This one does. BMW visas don't seem to have them. This was sort of a period, I think the M10 and M20 engines were particularly known for them, and the M40s. So just watch that. Obviously, yeah, rust in early cars. Yeah, we've seen that on this one. Six cylinder, the head studs can shear off. M20 engine like this one can suffer from coolant loss due to the head becoming porous, which is crazy. On the M40s, watch for engine noise that might indicate a worn valve gear. Maybe run it on good quality oil. That might be good advice. And then the rear subframe bushes, not from the rear, will indicate that they're worn out or rear damper top mountings. And then a rust around the front jacking points. The floors actually are the thing to watch for. This car is actually quite solid actually underneath, which is good. Watch for accident damage. Some people have been, you know, customized in questionable taste, particularly the convertibles. Automatic gearboxes, they don't take kindly to being drained, having their transmission fluid replaced for some reason. And then worn interior. Yeah, I mean this interior actually, because it's 40 years old, it's all right. Quite like this car in conclusion actually. I mean, it's not been possible to have a sort of longer drive of it, but we have had a bit of fun today. It's not something I would normally do, but because we've got this bit of private land with it, what we've been using, then it's okay. So thank you again once again to Mr. Charles for letting me have a go in his car. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and Grand Theft Auto. Like this video, comment below, and we shall see you again for some more kind of nostalgic but reasonably priced cars and some fun too.
Every day with blue skies.